No matter how big or small, behind every business are people.
This is brilliant. I really truly believe that I have some of the best clients out here on Long Island.
Lisa Mirable makes sharing their stories her business.
Talking with the people that I work with so closely every day and how phenomenal I think they are, and then sharing them with everyone else is really special.
This is Marketing That Moves You.
Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Mirable of Vertigo Media Group and Marketing That Moves You. Today, I'm very excited to have a special guest with me. And really, when I say special, I mean that Kim and I have been friends now for about 6 years.
Yeah.
Quite a long time. Yeah. Kim is of ADRNYlaw.com. She's been a client of Vertigo Media Group for about 5 years now. Quite a long time also.
Well, yeah, probably even a little bit longer, I think.
Really?
I think.
See, time flies. Time flies. Kim has an interesting business model, and it really is, quite different, something you don't hear of every day. And it's called the collaborative divorce.
Well, that's one aspect
of it. Yes. But the most intriguing to me, because peaceful and divorce don't usually go together, but if you've ever met Kim, she has such a peaceful aura about her that you couldn't imagine working with her or being around her and not having that experience, because that just exudes out of your being.
Well, thank you.
It is a compliment. I mean, when it comes to divorce, it's not always easy, right? I've been through it. You've been through it, right?
Yeah. It's never easy. It's not about being easy. It's such a major life transition with so many emotions, and easy should never really be the word to describe it. Peaceful and respectful. Those are words that you can use in the context of that process.
But often don't.
Often don't.
Yeah. And the one thing that you taught me, and you lose sight of it when you're in it, is that it's, you're a family unit, whether you're together or whether you're apart. And the most important thing is the kids. You always know the most important thing is the kids.
Even though you know it in your head, when you're so filled with fear and rage.
And it is fear.
It's sometimes really hard to keep that at the forefront of your priorities,
Right.
Yeah. But maybe I can help you describe my business model a little bit better.
Yeah, let's do that, because no one can explain it quite as good as you. Right. So go ahead.
So collaborative law is definitely an aspect of it.
Yes.
As you know, I've been doing this for 33 years. Mm-hmm. And about 10 years ago, I just got to the point where I just really couldn't be involved anymore in the dysfunction, in the waste of money, the waste of time, and the damage that the legal system does to families. I just didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I felt
right.
like
I could imagine psychologically that could wear on you.
It did. Yeah, very much so. And, 98% of cases settle. So there's, you'd go through this horrific process that would drag on and cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, to end up settling right where you probably should have started. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a system that's very, very broken. So I made the decision that I wasn't going to participate in that anymore. And I went and I got trained in mediation and collaborative divorce. And about 6 years ago, about when I met you, I restructured my firm, and I no longer take on litigated cases. I will only do mediation, collaborative divorce, or I will take a traditional case, but only to settle it.
Okay.
I'm not going to try that case. Yeah.
Right.
So when you start out with that mindset, it makes it a more streamlined process and less likely that you'll end up in court. It's always a waste of time.
It's a waste of time and a lot of money.
A lot of money, a lot of heartache.
So your specialty comes at a cheaper price tag.
Yes.
And a much more reasonable psychological state of mind.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, you can.
So I don't understand why so many people don't do it.
I'll tell you
because
why.
I would think your phone would be ringing off the hook. Tell me why. Go ahead.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Because people think that they are going to be vindicated by the system. They're going to get to tell their story about how horrible their spouse is, and the judge is going to say, "Oh, you poor thing, you get to have everything." That doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
I know.
And the system has the way of pouring gasoline on all of your negative feelings, which only heightens them. But in this process, you're, like you said, you're always a family. You start as a family, you're always going to be a family.
Yep.
And particularly if you have children together, you have to learn how to function in your new roles. You're
Right.
still parents. You may not be married parents, but you're still parents. And you have to work together. So when you do it in a less threatening atmosphere, and in a process that starts from a place of respect, you reframe your relationship the way the two of you want it to be, and you don't end up hating each other. And your children don't end up psychologically damaged because you hate each other.
Right. More importantly, you're already messed up. I'm just
Thanks, Lisa.
Let's not pass that down. No, but the outside of the whole mindset of it being peaceful, I also like the idea that you bring in experts in many of the different aspects of divorce.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Okay. Particularly in the collaborative process, that's a team approach. That's an approach where both parties have an attorney, but those attorneys are like-minded and they're working together as a team. They're not adversarial with one another or with the parties. The goal is to do what's best for the family unit as a whole. And then you have a mental health professional on that team. And that's the person who deals with all the parenting issues. Where are your children and what stage of development and what's going to be the best parenting plan that serves their needs. And it helps the parents come up with a parenting plan. When I do it as a divorce attorney, I'm not psychologically trained to know what the stages of
Exactly.
development are and things like that. So there's the right professional for that specific topic. And then there's a financial expert.
I love this because really, I mean, they get down and dirty.
Yeah.
They look at everything.
Yeah.
I thought this was amazing. Go ahead.
There's
Sorry,
a new,
cut you off there.
There's a new really hot and
Too
growing.
exciting for me.
There's a relatively recent designation in the financial world, certified divorce financial planner. And it's a certification, just like all the other financial certifications. And that person deals specifically with the issues of equitable distribution. How, we've got one pie, and
Right.
we have to split it up, and half of something is not as good as the whole of something. So
Sure.
let's try and work to find ways to make the pie bigger, because half is generally inadequate. You've been living together as a financial unit and you were making it
Together.
together, and now you have to make it alone. So this professional is wonderful. They really help you think out of the box, first of all, and come up with really creative ideas how to make that pie bigger. As attorneys, we're generally focused on how to split the pie.
Right.
Nobody gives any thought to how to make it bigger so there's more to go around. And there are many strategies I've come to learn that can help you do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great process.
Okay. One, to have a parenting plan. I mean, I wish I had a parenting plan when I got divorced. I mean, the only thing we did back then was, I've been divorced for 17 years, right? So back then, the only thing we really did was say, I'll have them every other weekend.
Yeah, that was it.
And
Every other
sometimes on Wednesday
for dinner
for dinner.
from 5 to 7.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like about it. That was the big parenting plan.
Yeah. Things have
You
changed
know.
a lot since then. Things have really changed a
And
lot.
I know we couldn't, leave the state.
That's really all you were concerned about.
I was. How often can I go on vacation and who can come? No, I'm joking. But
Yeah, no,
but that was the parenting
I've come
plan.
a long way since then.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, now it's
Because I look at, and so I'm dating now. 17 years later, I know, surprise, right? So I'm dating now, and I look at just how he and his wife are handling co-parenting, and it's way different than my situation.
Yeah.
And they live in the same town. They're a couple of blocks away. The girls go from house to house, like no problem. Dad, I forgot something, coming by. Walk in, get their stuff, and leave. And it really is still one unit, even though
exactly.
they're separated.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It's
And
amazing.
And it's not as difficult to do as people think it is. again, if you can put aside your anger and your need for vindication and all
Sure,
that
sure.
stuff.
Which when you're in it, it is hard.
It is very hard. But now it's pretty much universally accepted that it's really important for children to have both parents in their lives in a true parental relationship. It used to be called visitation. It's not you don't visit your own children. That's what it used to be called.
It's true.
Right. So now it's a parenting schedule. What are your days that you're going to be the primary parent?
Right.
And what are your soon to be former spouse's primary days? And it makes the children feel much more secure. They view the parents equally. Sometimes in the old days with the every other weekend and Wednesday for dinners, mom or dad, whoever has that schedule, is viewed as the babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very damaging to children. So now it's, like I said, universally accepted that the more of a role that both parents can play together, the better the children will fare.
Oh, I think it's amazing that you're in this work, and that you chose with your eyes wide open to step away from litigation, which tends to be more profitable.
Absolutely.
And go into
Yeah.
a more reasonable,
Yeah.
side of work.
Because
Okay.
it became profitability versus my mental health.
Yeah, couldn't do
And
it
I chose
anymore.
my
I got
mental health.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
I just felt like no matter how smart I was, no matter how much I cared, no matter how good I wasn't accomplishing anything for anyone. It was just, okay, how can I mitigate the damages? Can I make the hole you're in a little smaller? And that's not a very gratifying or helpful.
No,
Yes.
it's not gratifying.
Yeah.
It's not gratifying.
Now I love what I do.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you love what you do. And
do.
it totally,
I do.
whenever I talk to you, you talk about work, right?
Yeah.
At some point it comes up, not only because we work together in some capacity, but it's just because you love what you do.
I do.
And you talk about it often.
Yeah.
And you wrote a book.
I co-authored a book. Don't get carried
Co-author.
away.
Okay. So I'm so proud of my friend. I have to, but she co-authored a book.
Yeah. A bunch of other professionals, not necessarily attorneys, psychologists and financial people, wrote a book called Stress-Free Divorce. There's several volumes of it, and mine is volume 3. And I really enjoyed doing it. And I got to, any opportunity that I get to be out there telling people that there's a better way.
Yeah.
You don't have to go financially and emotionally bankrupt to get divorced.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, emotionally bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
It is. And when I say this, it was the worst thing. And I said I never wished it on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
But God, when I was done, I was like, oh, thank God. But
Yeah.
going through it,
Yeah.
you can't even think.
No.
And there's so many decisions coming at you. That's why I love the full holistic approach where you bring on other team members.
Right.
Because you can't think at that time.
No.
Nor do you have the foresight when you're raising children to understand what's going to happen in the future. So to have you
right.
talk to your family, but
Yeah. You get very caught up, which is normal, in the day-to-day living and raising kids and running to the soccer field. And, that's what we do.
Yep.
So you don't think about the future. And then when you're faced with, oh, my God, now I'm going to be on my own, whether you wanted it, whether you initiated it or not,
Right.
it's
Whether
still a tremendous life transition. And, to take that psychological process through a legal system is a recipe for disaster. When you can bring two people together in a non-intimidating environment, because what's more intimidating than a courtroom?
Oh, extremely. Even to walk in that courthouse, I get
Yes.
a stomach ache.
Yeah.
I would be like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, why am I here? Like I feel like a criminal.
Right.
But
Right.
and it's not a criminal act to just want to be happy, right?
Right.
And I did initiate my divorce, and I can still say that it was one of the worst experiences I ever went through
Yeah.
in my life, right? I wanted that, but it was horrifying. So I find it interesting. We talked about having the full team that helps you gain perspective, to plan, and to really become financially secure, which is so important. But we also talked about the economics of your fees being very reasonable. On an average, now, don't have to quote me, but it's usually like
Oh, it's
a
fraction.
half, a third,
It's
a quarter.
fraction.
A fraction of
Fraction,
what
yeah,
of what
of
a
what
real
it would be for litigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a fraction of what it would be
Mhm.
for litigation.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's a more
And you
reasonable.
come out of it being able to speak to your
Speak.
former husband. Speak. Yeah, you come out of it being able to
Speak, period.
You can still form sentences.
It's amazing what it can do.
Beautiful
yes.
thing.
But you truly are a leader and a pioneer in this industry. To
There's
me,
lots of us. Maybe
Yes.
few, but there's lots of us out there.
that's why I qualified it. To me, and having co-authored, I got that right, co-authored a book, you are an industry leader.
If you say so.
I said so. I know I'm not making claims, but I think so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's a lot that you have to offer.
Like I said, I really enjoy what I do. It's like I leave that office 9 o'clock at night, whatever. And I leave feeling like I've added something good to the world. You know, I've helped two people find their way to their new path, you know, and just kind of shepherd them down the road. And it feels good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's got to be a
I've
good feeling.
I've actually had couples reconcile in my mediations.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's happened to me twice.
Really?
Yeah. Because, I mean, think about it. Most marriages break down because there's been a breakdown of communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're basically talking at each other or screaming at each other, and you're not really hearing each other.
Right.
So when I have a couple in my office, I do this thing that I call translation. One spouse will say something, and I will translate it to the other spouse.
Love that.
And because when you sit with somebody and you watch them communicate, you know, for an hour or, you know, however many sessions I've been with them, you learn their patterns of communication. And you can actually see what goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can interrupt that pattern, it's really, I had one couple just break down in tears and say, I never realized that that's how you felt, or that's what you meant by that.
That's what you meant. Yeah.
And they reconciled.
Ah.
I always I tell my couples, you're never going to agree. That's just, let's lay that out on the table. You're never going to agree. And I'm never going to ask you to agree. That's not the purpose of this process. But you have to validate that what the other person has said is important to them, and just agree to disagree. But you have to validate, and you have to respect what that person feels and what that person wants. And that seems to be helpful.
I believe it.
You
It
take
would be. You know, it definitely does take a certain mindset
Yeah.
to be able to hear that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. But it takes
Because you have so much anger.
Oh, yeah. But when you hear the words, you never have to agree with your spouse. It removes the need to fight.
Sure.
You never have to agree. It's water under the bridge.
Yep.
You never have to agree. And they're like, well, but we're here to agree. I said, well, you're here to come up with a plan for the future, but you're not here to agree on the things that you formerly disagreed on. You're here to work through them and move forward.
Right.
And you can see the shoulders go down. You know, there's something
freeing about that.
Something freeing about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have to argue my case for the 9 millionth time. And that kind of frees people up to be in a different space, to be able to talk to each other and cooperate.
Right. They don't have to prove anything.
Nope. Don't have to prove anything to
They
each
just
other.
know
or
that
me.
they're going to come up with a plan that's going to help them
Mm-hmm. It's totally
in the future. Yeah.
forward facing. You know, there's no going back. You're sitting here for a reason, and the reason doesn't matter.
Right.
Now it's time to decide how we move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Financially with the kids involved. And
Yes.
and
Yeah. So I love it.
yeah, that's great. That's great. So if you have a need or know someone who is looking to get divorced, they should get a free consultation.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they contact you, Kim?
You can give my office a call, 516-308-2922, or you can email me at kmc@adrlawny.com.
Say that one more time.
kmc@adrlawny.com, and the number is 516-308-2922. Even if you really don't have no idea that you're ready to do this, it is so important to educate yourself on what your options are and what your rights are. And, you know, the scariest part of the divorce is that first step. saying it out loud, calling a divorce lawyer's office and making an appointment. And
Sure.
that's the hardest part, you know? So, but it's important to do because, like I said, you need to educate yourself. Education, information, that's power.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kim, for being on today.
Well, thank you for having me, Lisa.
You definitely educated my audience, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.